One. And we are recording with Mr. Mike Adams for episode 653. This is the 300th episode this year. This is number 300. Mr. Adams, please introduce yourself, man.
Hey, hi, Tommy. Thanks for having me on. I'm Mike Adams. I'm the founder of Brighteon.com, the free speech video platform. I'm the founder of naturalnews.com. I'm a food scientist. I run a food analytics laboratory, and I have the Health Ranger store that sells lab tested, certified organic, storable food and nutritional products and so on. That's what I'm into. I'm all about food and self-reliance and prepping and things like that.
So I've had people telling me to get on Brighteon for some time, and I've been, it started just on YouTube, and people are like, hey, you got to get off YouTube, you got to get on. So I think the first one I got on was BitChute, and then Rumble, and then finally I started to understand, like, this is just an ongoing process of, like, whenever you find a new platform, back up all your stuff there and go there. And getting on Brighteon, I finally had someone personally recommend it on the podcast, so I was like, all right. And it was a video of yours I was actually watching last week, and I texted you about that. And it was you talking about how you have to play ball in order to get on the App Store or get on the Google Store. And
well, just to be clear, we're not on the App Store, so yeah, we're not playing ball with the censors. But yeah, you're correct about some platforms. Yeah.
And for me, and I've said it before, and it's I love Rumble. It's been nothing but great to me. In a little over a year, I've amassed 12,000 subscribers on there, but I'm also an OCD guy. As you know, this is a one-man operation, and I keep an Excel spreadsheet starting on December 12th, 2019, when I started the podcast, across about 52 columns. It grows every month, but really it's about, right now, it's around 52 columns. Entries for every day of the year, maybe excluding like Christmas. Views, total views, audience retention, total watch time, averages, blah, 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 any metric I can find. And what I noticed on Rumble was, a ton of growth. I had on my biggest episode yet with Dr. Desmet, Dr. Malone, and Dr. McCullough. That was the first episode of this year, 653 on January 4th. And that's my most viewed episode. It's got 750,000 views, and it brought my subscribers from like 1,000 to 6,000. Sick, loved it. Total endorphin high. And I tracked my average views, my total views divided by whatever number of episodes. And it went from like 100 to 150 from last year to, it's been pretty much coasting between 3,500 and 5,000 a day this entire year, and consistent, not for a week, not for 2 weeks, for well over 200 days in a row. On August 1st, it went down to about 500 a day.
Wow.
And that was so, and there's two things to look at. And since that day, I've added about 30% more subscribers, and it still won't go over 500.
And you're talking about on Rumble alone? Okay.
On Rumble. And this, and mind you, as an OCD guy, this didn't happen on BitChute, Spotify, or Odyssey. Relatively, there was no change. So two things happened. It's either because that's the day I interviewed Greg Phillips about his work on 2,000 Mules and election integrity, which is one of the reasons why I got banned from YouTube. And if it's not that, it's the day that they had a little banner across the top of the website that said, we are now listed on NASDAQ or whatever. And we're seeing with Elon and Twitter in court how you have to show how much these views and interactions are organic and how much of it is bots, because this could be fraud. So there's really one of two options, or perhaps I'll admit maybe there's a third I don't know about, and I might have to eat some humble pie. But it's either a form of shadow banning for discussing wrongthink, or they were pulling in users and enticing them to Rumble with artificially inflated views. And now that they are going on a stock market, knowing that, this could be fraud, they've greatly reduced it. And I know I'm putting you in an odd spot because they are a kind of fellow YouTube alternative, and I don't want you to feel like you have to be put in some place to cast a shadow on them or speak to.
Oh no, don't worry. You can't put me in an uncomfortable spot at all. Don't have no fear.
My man. All right. So those are my thoughts on Rumble. It's one or the other. It's wrongthink, or it's a company that is evading fraud. Both of them are not two comforting for me to go build my quote unquote my foundation for my company there.
Okay. So you want me to just kind of respond to that and give you my
Whatever you
thoughts?
want, man. Or we can just talk about some completely, just be like unrelated. Talk about
So
slippers. I don't care.
let me be clear about a couple of things. I've seen this pattern over and over again throughout a lot of tech companies when they go public, such as Pinterest. Let's talk about Pinterest for a second. There was a time when Pinterest started saying, well, you can't post any photos or any content about vaccines. All right. Nothing about vaccines. And why? Oh, because they were about to go public. And suddenly they were worried about investors, and they wanted the investors to feel comfortable with the content that was on there. And this happened. I've seen it on multiple tech platforms over all the years, that when they have to start pleasing investors because the price of the stock is considered the value of the company, in almost every case that I've seen, and I'm not accusing Rumble of doing this,
Sure.
I'm giving you a pattern. In almost every case that I've seen, these corporations, they choose money over principles. So profit over principle. And they will throw their free speech users under the bus time and time again in order to make more money and be in favor with the Wall Street class. Now, notably, by the way, Gab is not doing this. Gab is always holding the line, and Andrew Torba should be, applauded for holding the line on his principles of not giving in. Now, I put out a podcast recently talking about Rumble and BitChute, and not accusing them of anything at all. By the way, I'm glad they exist.
Sure.
I welcome the ecosystem of more platforms, and I'm the founder of Brighteon. So, but I don't even consider them competitors. I just say, hey, look, I mean, the more the merrier, right?
Yeah.
We can all
Absolutely.
speak freely.
Absolutely.
But I pointed out that how is it that Rumble has apps with the Apple Store, the iPhone Store, and also approved by Google in the Google Play Store? And because I happen to know, because our apps are denied by both of those tech giants, because they say, well, you have to engage in all the following forms of censorship before we will allow your app to come on. And well, what is all that censorship? Well, Apple told us we can't criticize Satanism, for one thing, by the way. That was very clear. And it was incredible, the back and forth with the Apple engineers. And they would say, well, you can't have this. And they would say, well, okay, what if we take that off? Just, theoretically. Then they would find something else. Oh, you can't criticize abortion, they would say. And then it just on and on and on. You can't say anything bad about this and that, and blah, blah, blah. So I know that the rules at Apple and also with Google Android is that they will not allow you to have an app unless you agree to their censorship. So that raises a question in my mind as a logical question, and I would pose this question publicly to Rumble. How is it that you have apps when the only way those apps will be allowed is if you agree to censor your users on these so-called sensitive subjects? Have you made a deal with Google and Apple in order to appease your investors? And are you planning on, or are you now censoring people whose speech is not, let's say, appreciated by the leftists who are running the tech giants? So that's my entire position on it, Tommy. I know that I've had investors come to me and offer, many tens of millions of dollars and things like that, because they wanted to control the platform. And that's a route that people can take. And, it's a free market system, right? So if you agree to take money, they'll make you wealthy overnight. And here, you can have all this money, and then we're going to take your platform and we're going to build it up. It's going to be bigger. It's going to be more competitive. And then there's going to be a board of directors. The board of directors is the great screw job in all of this, which is these people telling you that, oh, you can't stick to your principles because we have investors to please, you see.
Yeah.
Right. So I said, no, thank you, walked away. And we are, by the way, we're about to roll out 10 major new features that we've been working on for over a year because we're self-funded. We don't have as many features as Rumble or BitChute or others. It's okay. But we have our principles. We don't shadow ban anybody. We don't ban speech. People can say almost anything they want. Obviously not illegal, stalking, threatening, I'm going to kill you type of videos,
Inciting
stuff like
violence, child pornography.
that. Yeah, like how to build bombs.
The constitutional rules. Yeah.
Yeah, right. Like we abide by, the rule of law.
The law of land.
Right. But aside from that, we don't censor people. And we're just slowly, meticulously building a platform for people who really care about being true to the freedom to speak. And by the way, Tommy, every person that subscribes to your channel on Brighteon, when they log into Brighteon, their homepage, they will always see your latest video if they are subscribed to your channel. It's not an algorithm. It's not like a percent chance. It's 100% chance they're going to see your video if they subscribe to your channel, which is the way it should be, because we don't believe in shadow banning. So that's a little insight into our philosophy.
And for anybody wondering, I don't receive a dime from Brighteon. I don't.
Oh yeah,
I don't. I've been
true.
uploaded there for maybe 2 weeks. So anybody wondering if there's some, yeah, no. Well, I've had people reach out to me, and they're like, it's not just that you don't show up on my Rumble feed anymore. They're like, I have a Rumble account exclusively to subscribe to you,
Oh wow.
just showing support, like, because
Right.
you can't comment if you don't have, which is the same for YouTube, but it's like they're on there for this show and this show only. And I've brought them over from my my clan of, I guess, diehard followers from YouTube who have followed me there, and they're like,
Yeah.
it's kind of funny. They're like, why else would I be on this shit website? They're like, I'm here to support you, Tommy. And like, I like Rumble. I don't hate Rumble,
Well, look,
but
I
it's
use
hard.
Rumble too, by the way. I
Yeah,
mean, again, I'm not criticizing Rumble, and
the
don't
more the merrier. It
mistake.
is better
Right.
to fight censorship as a collective.
Yeah, totally. And the fact that Rumble has all this investment money, it does mean that they can build more features more quickly. They do some really
Sure.
impressive things on the tech side, no question about it. And I don't wish any ill will upon them or anyone else in this space. I want everybody to succeed, but I want speech to be free. Okay. And I'm hearing some things, not enough to go public yet, but I'm hearing some concerning things. You just laid out a pattern that you've experienced on Rumble. I don't know why that's happening. I don't know their algorithms. I don't know if they do speech recognition and keyword flagging like YouTube does. I just don't know yet.
Yeah.
So we'll see.
Absolutely. And again, like I said, that is my experience that I noticed. I have also, but along with that, I've had a ton of people, coincidentally, in quotes, commenting in and around that time, August 1st, plus or minus like a week. Hey, dude, you're not listed on my Rumble anymore. And by the way, I'm only on this website subscribed to you. I don't see you anymore.
Whoa.
Or I'm auto unsubbed from you, which is the beginning.
Whoa. That's a YouTube trick. They auto
That is,
unsubscribe people all the time.
and so on one hand, it's like, don't let perfection prevent progress. Like, I do understand that there are growing pains along the way. That being said, I'm 32 years old. I'd like to think of myself as older and wiser, but I look at this and I'm like, these are the same patterns that led to YouTube. So the whole what word am I looking for? The whole draw of Rumble is that you can get information that you couldn't get on YouTube because you'd be banned.
Right.
Other than that, it is a far worse UI, has a much smaller user base, has a much smaller amount of content. YouTube's been up since 2005. If you're not going to offer me that absolute free speech, why am I here?
Yeah,
Why
exactly.
in God's name am I
No,
here?
that's exactly the point. And you just described also Brighteon, right? So Brighteon doesn't have near the features of YouTube, although we are rolling out, by the way, a tokenization tipping system very soon so that the content creators can get paid.
Hell
And
yeah.
that's taken us actually 2 years. But we don't have nearly the features of anybody else, but the main draw is you can speak freely, which is why, by the way, there's a whole bunch of people on Brighteon that have flat earth channels, which
Yeah.
they're all talking about flat earth, and I'm like, hey, guess what? That's awesome. Everybody's got a
Go
different
for it.
view of the cosmos, the universe, the way things work, what's round, what's flat. Go for it.
Whatever.
It's not my business to tell people what they can and cannot say about the earth. You know what I mean?
It's almost like the same way for all of human history, the truth will just rise to the top on its own.
Yeah. And then people should be able to
shocker.
argue and debate and present their slides and everything else. Go for it.
Yeah.
It's fine.
Yeah.
But let me throw out something else that has never been made public, though, that I think is relevant to this. And thanks for having me on. Thanks for letting me talk about this.
Of course.
So there was in the early days of Brighteon, we only updated the video view count 1 out of every 10 video views. So in other words, the actual update command, the SQL update to the database, only happened 1 out of every 10 views because the demand on the database was too high in the early days before we built our own massive hardware server farm. Okay. And then a couple of months ago, we were revisiting that algorithm. It was like 1 out of 10. Okay. And we decided to just hit it every view. So every view, there's an update that goes to the database. Okay. So, I mean, now, even though before it was 1 out of 10, but it would increase it by 10. It was still the right number. It was just like there would be 9 views before it would count, plus 10. Okay. So, excuse me. So our programming team made a mistake in this update, and the mistake, because I have a background in coding, and the mistake was traced back to not defining the type of the variable. So there were integers that were supposed to get added together, but someone mistyped or forgot to type one of the variables, and it ended up being interpreted as a string instead of an integer. And for whatever reason, there was a new program on the team, and they failed to process this through the staging testing area, and they pushed this one change live, which is a big no-no. And I jumped all over this guy, by the way, because it's like, are you out of your mind? You don't push features live, whatever, and it caused a crazy explosion in the apparent view counts, where some people's videos that had like 5,000 views, suddenly they showed 50,000 or 500,000 views, like overnight, boom. And it was wrong. And so we put up a notice that said, the view counts are screwed up. We apologize, we're working on it. I went back to my team, you got to fix this. You got to trace back. You got to undo all this. And it took them about 18 hours to solve this. And then the view counts got corrected back down. Now, we did hear from a few users who only logged in when the view counts were really high, right? And then they saw the view counts got deprecated or reduced, and they said, "Oh my God, Brighteon took away all our views." And actually, it was just a correction. So I do know that sometimes those things happen.
Sure.
That happened to us, and we apologize. And it drives me nuts that even happened, but it does happen.
Yeah, no, and that's something. Well, and so that's one of the first things I thought was like, before I go to like battle positions, I'm like, as a biology major, I remember thinking, I was telling myself, I was like, hey, I was like, Tommy, like, put down the flamethrower. Like, it might not be war. Something might have happened that I just don't understand.
Right. True.
My only problem is that really from January 4th forward, my big episode with Malone, Desmond, and McCullough that, increased my subscriber count 700% in one day, every day for well over 200 days, January, February, March, April, May, June, all of July. It never fell below. There was never a day that I got less than 3,000 views. And most days it was over 5,000.
Well, I mean, that would indicate that you have, your audience is checking back daily, and that should persist and grow.
Until it hit a wall on August 1st, down to 500. And that's when I was at like 9,000 subscribers. Now I'm at 12,500, and it still hasn't gone over 500. Also, then trying to give them the benefit of the doubt. Let's walk this out. Maybe this is something that happened across the entire website. Okay. I have a problem with, if it happened across the entire website like it did with Brighteon, okay, a coding error. But I do have a problem with, why was that up for 9 months? And that's far too coincidental for a new platform to be enticing users to come over from YouTube to make that quest to the new world. It's far too enticing that you show a channel on YouTube that maybe is only getting 10 views per video. All of a sudden go, well, you're getting 1,000 per video. And
wait, so you're
now
thinking
all of a sudden you're getting
padding the views to
maybe it's a hot girl flirting with the nerds because the nerds getting her an A on the homework. And now that you're over there, and the very day a banner goes ahead that says we are now on NASDAQ, it all drops because I don't know, that might be fraud. So that, who knows, I might have a tinfoil hat on. I don't know, but it's that, or it's censorship. So which is it? Or there's a third, and that's just incompetence. Make a note of it. But as far as I'm concerned, it's been 2 months. I can't get a response from anyone. I'm still putting out videos more than one a day. My subscriber count has gone up by 30% since August. And I'm still doing this with huge guests.
Yeah, true. You get a lot of
What-
great guests.
Thank you. What has happened? So that to me is, I can either keep spending time on this and going, is it censorship or is it fraud? Well, eventually I do hit a point and goes, I can tell you what it is. It's something I don't give a shit about. I'm not going to waste any more time with it. I'm going to go somewhere else. I'm always going to upload to Rumble, just like I'll always upload to BitChute and Odyssey and Spotify. But that is what's indirectly, I guess, led to this podcast. Is I'm not doing that. I'm in this for the long haul. And
well, I mean, what a fascinating journey to bring us together and to have this conversation, because I bet a lot of content creators are in the same boat that you are, and they're wondering, like, what's going on, what's happening with the views, but look, you and I get to talk. I mean, I'm in touch with the R&D team. We can talk tech. I can answer questions. I can tell you how our platform works. And the only complaint that we get is not that views are padded, just that there's just not enough views, because people are used to YouTube level views, which, by the way, a lot of YouTube views, it's transient. It's people who don't give a crap. They're just clicking around. So what I tell people is, look, our views on Brighteon, that's real. Okay, it's going to be a lot lower than what you saw on YouTube, but these views count. These are people who are engaged. These are people who are here because they want to be here. They want to hear free speech. They want to hear alternative news and so on, or even alternative theories about everything. So these views are like 10 to 1, maybe more important than views on YouTube. And so people do well on Brighteon just because the views count more. It's an interesting dynamic.
Yeah, I always joke about, I'm like, I have I've been on BitChute for 3 years. I'm like, I only have 700 subscribers there, but I always joke, I'm like, those 700, it's like that, right? Was it Alexander the Great? There's some quote where it's 1 volunteer is worth 20 conscripts. I'm like,
yeah, right.
I'm like, those 700,
exactly.
I'm like, those are 700. Those are not bots. Those are not
Yes.
sympathy. I'm like, that I got an army. That's a real 700.
So true.
Yeah. So I guess just to play devil's advocate, because that's one thing, if anybody that watches this podcast knows, I just, for the sake of keeping my mind limber, I always have to play all sides. There has to be some very real limitations then to Brighteon if it's privately funded, right? I mean, like you said, Rumble, with all that funding, they are right. There's the double-edged sword. You're beholden to shareholders, but you can also roll out new features quicker. You can do X, Y, and Z. What would you say are the not to act like I'm some interviewing you, but what would you say are the limitations of that more honest system?
Yeah, but you are interviewing me, and
I realized that as I said it. I'm like, what?
I'm happy to
literally
answer
a podcast. It's 953 interview. Tommy, what the fuck do you think you've been doing for 3 years? Not to act like an interviewer on a podcast.
No, but that's what this is. All right, so 2 things. Number one, when it's interesting, Rumble is currently paying big money to get high visibility people to come on
Russell
and
Brand,
join Rumble.
Tate. Yeah,
exactly. So yeah, you take Tate. So I don't know what he's being paid, but whatever it is, let's just say he's being paid, I don't know, $1 million a year. Let's just say. Well, it's easy for Rumble to get that money because it's a public company. So it's other people's money. That's a key difference. When you're using other people's money to pay your talent, suddenly you have a lot of money available as long as your stock price is high. Whereas here on Brighteon, we don't pay any talent to do their shows because we don't have other people's money running through our accounting system to do that. So that's one thing. And I'm not criticizing Rumble for doing that. I think it's great to bring people across from YouTube and put them on Rumble. It's just that, again, it's easier for them because it's not their money. Secondly, they can fund a lot more R&D. So their R&D budget, I'm just guessing, could easily be between $25 and $50 million a year, easily. Our R&D budget is probably between $2 and $3 million a year. And that's not insignificant, by the way.
No.
I mean,
no,
it's still a ton of money if you're a small private company. And it just shows, we're really dedicated to free speech. We've spent millions upon millions of dollars to build this platform and let everybody use it for free. But we don't have the big budgets. And the other thing, that when you're a public company, you are able to attract talent by offering them stock options in lieu of actual payment. So if you're any kind of public company, if you're Rumble, you can go out, you can recruit top level engineers, and you can say, okay, here, I'll pay you $250K a year, which, by the way, is a kind of salary for top level, sysadmin or top level engineers at the top. I'm not saying all the lower guys, but somebody can make 250. And we, Rumble, will throw in, boom, stock options that could mean that you're actually getting $500,000 a year. They can always entice people with the stock options. And then they can lock that employee in with the options where you can't sell these. You're not fully vested until 5 years down the road. So they can lock them in.
You have gold handcuffs.
Exactly. Whereas what we have to do as a private company, not publicly traded, we have to just pay market rates. Boom, that's it. Okay, so yeah, we have to pay some engineers $100 an hour, some more. I mean, engineering is not a cheap thing these days. Believe me, it's crazy expensive. And half the problem is Mark Zuckerberg hired everybody to build that monstrosity known as Meta. That is a joke, but he sucked up like 50,000 engineers around the world and paid them insane amounts of money, creating a shortage in engineering, by the way.
Well,
so that's an advantage that Rumble has that we do not have. So we're smaller, we're slower, we're more meticulous, but we're self-funded, which means we control all of our decisions. There you go.
So unfortunately, I am a human being that eats food, drinks water, and has an electricity bill that powers this machinery that I'm doing. And I've been very open on the podcast before. I told you all about my investor situation. I'm very open about that. It's an absurd journey. I like it. It's a roller coaster. But for someone like myself, where my idealism is going to eventually, in about 18 months and 6 days, not that I'm counting, April 17th, 2024, is when my official private funding runs out, and then I've got some savings. And, like I've said before, if I don't make it by then, I'll just go get a job and do the podcast in the evening. I got into medical school. That was harder than this. So I could do that. I'll do the podcast. Yeah. That being said, I also have, much like the idyllic college kid that's like, we should all just, love each other and have a communist society. And then you graduate and you go, man, fuck this shit. I want the salary. Give me that money, right? You have that reality check. I'm also very aware that there is a reality check to my free speech absolutism. And I'm not too dissuaded by that, because I look at someone like Rogan and I'm like, so the richest podcaster in the world is the guy who can still say whatever he wants. So I think I'm in good company. Stubbornness in the past has yielded great things. In the United States, World War II, what did they call it? Unconditional surrender. There was no, well, maybe you get to do this. No, it was absolute victory or nothing. So I also don't really feel too dissuaded to go for absolute victory. Can
I chime in on this, Tommy?
Absolutely.
Because I look at a lot of talent. I was interviewing a guy today on InfoWars, John Wadsworth, known as New Patriot, brand new guy on just on Brighteon only, and he's a rock star. He's awesome. He's nailing it. I'm looking at talent all the time, and I think I have a pretty good sense of what ingredients are necessary for people to do well in podcasting and some of the business models that work for people. So is it okay if I share a couple of things with you? So number one, you've absolutely got what it takes to be a successful podcaster. Not only do you have the raw intelligence to ask really great questions. I've listened to several of your other interviews, including the one with Eben Alexander. Thank you for connecting me to him.
Absolutely.
Secondly, you get the most amazing guests ever, like the Russian bioweapons guy.
Dan Albeck, he was on last night. We shot the shit for an hour and a half.
I'm telling you. So, like, if for some reason you ever don't want to do podcasting and want a job working in this area, you would be the world's best producer of podcasts.
I think I would be.
You would be. The third thing is that the revenue model that can work for you is sponsorship during the podcast, or what we call live reads. So instead of going to a platform where it's a revenue share, which is what YouTube often is, the most successful podcasters that I know who are actually earning a living off of it, and I mean a serious living. So
Tim Dillon, the comedian, he makes like $250 a month.
Yeah, I know people who are doing 6 figures a month, across alt platforms, by the way, not just on one platform, but alt platforms. And they are doing this by, number one, of course, being a very strong influencer with their own personality traits. That's one thing that has to come across very strongly, is your own personality, so that people know that it's you and they know what you stand for, what your principles are. But then secondly, there are live reads of sponsors that are consistent with your principles. So your sponsorship selection would be kind of small, but very, very effective, very much in line. And I'm in the same boat too. You know, I have sponsors that sponsor my podcast that offer things like satellite phones from emergency communications, US made survival knives that have a special steel alloy that I can talk about scientifically, things like that. But I think that you have what it takes, Tommy, to be very successful in this space with live reads of certain sponsors that are aligned with your mission. And the one, it's not a criticism, but the one thing I would say that is difficult for people when they first encounter you is they're not sure, because you interview such a diverse, vast array of people that the audience isn't sure what your focus is. Right. Like, what is your thing? What is your main message? And so that's the only thing that I would say is, like, how do you describe yourself and your focus and your message, you know, in 60 seconds? What is Tommy all about?
In 2007, my family moved from Atlanta to Portland. I'll go for 60 seconds. Portland, Maine, for my dad's job in the middle of high school. Didn't have any friends. I moved a lot as a kid, and this was like the last move that just kind of broke me to where I was like, I don't even want to make new friends. I'm just going to go to the gym. And I remember every day after school, after the gym, I would sit on the computer and I would just go down Wikipedia rabbit holes. It started with the Cold War, and then I'd go to a reference and I'd find a new article about Reagan's SDI, and then that would lead to this, which would lead to this. And I would just skim through. It didn't matter what the topic was or even what the era was, modern day or 5,000 years ago. If I saw something that caught my eye, I would just go for it. And that would, much like capitalism is the incentive model, I would learn because I was incentivized by, what is this? What the hell is the Defense Intelligence Agency? Why did the Soviets have an anti-aircraft gun on their Salyut 22 satellite? That's the first weapon in space. All the way to, when did this happen? What is the younger dryas impact? I simply go by what I'm interested in. And if I stay on one topic for too long, it starts to get dry, and then the spark in my talking, it goes away because it's my 10th straight episode talking about COVID, and I don't really want versus go from COVID to Delta Force operator to Soviet bioweapons program to rovers on Mars to guy who started Brighteon. And if you actually watch them all, what seems like a scattershot attempt or a scattering brain, you actually start to find there's a very common theme in all of them, and it's inquisitiveness, curiosity, and I try to make analogies between the two so that people who maybe understand military tactics, I'll use a Delta Force analogy to try to teach them about what Dr. Malone says about vaccines and vice versa.
Okay,
that's my pitch.
So let me just throw this out. I mean, we're just going to brainstorm live in real time here. I think that you need branding as a show, and the branding, for example, what you just described, if I were to throw out some possible show names or brand names, would be, boom, the Curious Adventures with Tommy Carrigan, or Down the Rabbit Hole with Tommy Carrigan. Like a show brand, a show name, and an intro logo with some music and logo that just sets the tone, but also doesn't restrict you, like allows you to cover any topic, because you're about curiosity, you're about inquisitiveness, as you said, or adventuring into territories that maybe a lot of people don't venture into. So Down the Rabbit Hole or Off the Beaten Path, themes like that would be a great fit and would allow you to talk to anybody.
So the reasoning for what it is, one, TPC is my name, Thomas Patrick Carrigan, and it also stands for Tommy's Podcast. So it's also just the simplest thing I could think of. It's also, I've been talking to people like you and I are doing right now my entire life. I mean, truly, I went and interviewed at the University of University of Southern California Keck School of Medicine on November 1st, 2013. And that was the day some dude walked into LAX with a machine gun.
Oh,
So there
really?
was a giant traffic jam. I was stuck on this empty bus for like 3 hours with some Hispanic woman. And I must have talked to her about 3 hours about, like, did you know Reagan wanted to put like lasers in space? And what? And we taught everything in between. Or just, even at the University of Georgia, just sitting in the science library with someone else, you end up talking about this, that, or the other thing. And then finally, moving home with my parents in 2016, I just go to the gym every day. It was just all old. I mean, like 50 years older than me. And so every day at the end of the workout, I'd just be in some sauna with a bunch of old guys who like fought in Korea. And I would just always end up talking like, hey, I'm Tommy. And the next thing you know, we're on for 9 hours. We're just going until we're both red in the face because it's so hot in there. But the reason why I've never had like an official name for the podcast other than Tommy's podcast, the reason why I've never had an intro is because my logic is like the best conversations I've had in my life just started with like, what's up, man? It wasn't like the way I look at it is this. It's like if I sat down in the sauna and then just like played a little musical intro and then was like, welcome to my show, someone would be like, who the I'm gonna call cops. Like this guy's unhinged. So for me is the reason why there's no intro, there's no music, it's by design. It's because the best conversations I've ever had in my life just start with, all right, so what's your name, Mike? Yeah, man. So do you ever know about this? And then you're off to the races. So I get that a lot about how I need a name for it or a logo for it. It's by design that it's supposed to be the most vanilla. It's just what it's 3, 2, 1, and we're recording. Yeah,
Well,
today we're gonna talk about. So that's my answer to it.
That's truly fascinating, and I like your philosophy. And I would still invite you to consider some
Sure.
names so that the end user can see if they've never heard of you before, and they
Gotcha.
see your video or they channel, like boom. And here's another name, like Tommy Talks to the World. Like
Yeah.
that's your show, Tommy Talks to the World. And people are like, whoa, really? What's Tommy talking about to the world? And there's like a mental hook, something to remember, something that stands out.
Yeah.
And then they might tune in for the first few minutes and see if they're hooked, and then they listen to the whole hour or whatever. I'm just throwing out stuff. So
Oh yeah, I'm not. I don't mean it. I'm not. I'm open to all ideas.
I think you've got the talent, you've got the production capabilities, you've got the intelligence to carry on these amazing conversations. And
Thank you.
I just think a little bit of marketing polish around it would make a world of difference. I really do.
That means a lot. I mean, it is, and this is, and I don't know if this is more of a conversation that wouldn't be on the podcast. And like I always say, I can edit out anything. But so what is it of my interest aside from the fact that you guys are for free speech in terms of like, I do have to come down from the clouds and be able to pay bills. How would I for Brighteon as opposed to Rumble or BitChute? How do I turn this into a successful podcast? And when I say make money, I mean like right now about $3,000 a month is what I live on. How do I get to that? Is how do I get to that on Brighteon? How do I get to that on Rumble? Right now I'm making like $100 a month on Spotify with like another 100 from Patreon from users. So I'm at 200 of the 3,000 I need. And that's seeing how the sausage is made that I think some people don't like, that it's like, this is a real thing. All the podcasts I put out is because I have my bills paid and I'm able to listen to 9 hours of audiobooks in a day or send out 100 emails. What is the actual capitalist opportunity for someone like myself?
I know people who are well established. They've been doing this for several years. They've got a good audience, and they are paid about $5,000 per episode.
Jeez.
By a sponsor. Yeah, that's not unusual. Now,
how do I need to get sponsored by Raytheon? Don't you mean
invading
your country tomorrow?
No, it's not Raytheon.
Boeing.
Here's where it all starts. If you only need $3,000 a month to pay your bills, that's going to be, I think, very
my survival
easy
threshold
to achieve. Yeah, but that's going to be so easy to achieve, I believe. Here's what it is. Obviously, it comes from your relationship with your viewers. So it's about growing your viewer base, but deepening your relationship with them so that they know who you are and what you stand for, and that whatever you bring in as a sponsor, of course, has to be 100% consistent with your
Yeah.
philosophy and your belief system. You can't, if you try to, you know, cheat your way through it, like, oh, or
I
I'm
couldn't fake
sponsored
it.
by, you know, Pizza Hut. I mean, forget it.
Yeah.
Right? Don't even think about that. It's got to be consistent. But I guarantee you, I know from advertisers who have spent hundreds of thousands of dollars a month with Google, and they have found that moving over to alt media, they were able to get the same results for just $50,000 a month. The alt media influencer ecosystem is the great hidden gem for advertisers who are blowing money hand over fist on Google and YouTube and Facebook. And it's 90% wasted money. They are looking for opportunities of genuine people to sponsor with live reads, like I said before, to sponsor who have a real connection with their audience. So there's a trust factor that has been established, which you have to earn. And it's based on your reputation and people listening to you and liking what you say. And it can't be fake. It's got to be 100% genuine. You know, it's got to be really who you are. It's like what I do, nothing is staged, nothing's an act, nothing's fake. Like what you hear about me, what I talk about, that's who I am. Everything from the chickens and the goats and the donkeys on my ranch and everything else, it's all real.
Yeah.
That's why sometimes it's so bizarre. I couldn't make that up.
Yeah.
But if with it just comes down to how much influence you have with people, and then connecting with advertisers that are consistent, and then doing a few tests and seeing, you know, how the response is, and then growing it from there. But, you know, given the diversity of who you talk to, your potential for sponsors is pretty diverse, because there are certain things that everybody needs. Like, you know, everybody needs food. Everybody takes a shower. Everybody buys soap. Everybody shaves. Everybody, you know, uses a cell phone, whatever. Everybody uses a computer. Everybody could use a VPN service, and so on and so forth. It's a lot of things.
Yeah. To me, it is that like, it's that alchemical, what turns like the lead into gold is like, I'm working my ass off. This is episode 953. Like, there's been upgrades over the years as the camera gets better, the microphone gets better, the guests get bigger. And there's still just like this, where is the moment where the gold happens? And I don't mean like literal gold. I wouldn't mind gold, but like there's still the moment of like, how does this, okay, there's kind of like there was like a semi alchemical moment, right? They found someone that's investing in the podcast. Okay, cool. I can move out of my parents' house. I don't have to work at the liquor store anymore. But there's still this thing where I'm like, where does when does the boat push off from the dock and it doesn't sink? And like, I'm still trying to find that. And I think full circle, that's kind of what disheartened me about Rumble, is starting
you
to
felt
see
like you were getting punched in the gut after building up all those views.
It's you get away from YouTube, and all right, so I'm at 5,500 subscribers on YouTube, get banned, and then I'm back on Rumble. I'm like, start at 1, and I'm like, all right, let's do this. Let's roll up our sleeves. Let's stop bitching and do this. And then in less time it took me to took almost 2 years to get 5,000 on YouTube. Now I get over double the number of subscribers in less than half the time on Rumble. So you get up to 12,000 in a year, and you're like, I'm the man. I got this. And then you start to see the same patterns that, in my opinion, have poisoned YouTube. And there's just this sort of like, what am I doing? Like, at a certain point, do you go, I'm never going to find perfection, so I should just suck it up and bend the knee and just stop interviewing doctors about COVID and make money and shut up? And I don't mean like make Rogan money. I mean enough to pay for my apartment. Or there's like,
Well,
do you stand firm and keep fighting?
the money always has to come as a side effect of doing an amazing job, you know, with the content. And I think from listening to some of your interviews, if you don't mind me saying, and
Yeah, go for it, dude.
I don't care if you want to edit this out, that's fine. Or if you want to publish this publicly, that's fine too. It's your call. But what you are able to do is to delve into questions that a lot of people aren't thinking. You're able to peel back the layers of mystery.
Thank you.
In fact, you know, that term mystery, I think you should consider that, using that term in your new show name, Tommy, because you uncover mysteries of the world.
Thank you.
Seriously, like Tommy's, digging into the world's mysteries or something, some better formation of that. But I mean, you deal with like bioweapons and astronauts and NASA and military tech and all kinds of stuff. And a lot of it is uncovering mysteries, which you have this unique talent to do that not everybody can even manage that.
Thank you.
Right? Yeah. So that you do that really, really well. And it's intriguing. And that's the thing. It's intriguing and it's informative, and people want to, put on your podcast and just listen. And often, see, I think a lot of people listen while they're doing something else.
Oh yeah.
And that's the way people listen to me too. So, okay,
Yeah.
they're going to do dishes and they're listening to the podcast,
Yeah.
or they're mowing the lawn on a riding lawnmower, right? And listening to the podcast, whatever they're doing, or driving and listening. And that's fine. And your format lends itself to that quite well too, because there's not visually a lot of crazy stuff going on. It's all intellectual.
It's this.
Yeah.
Yeah. Spoiler
Right.
alert. It's me on a chair in front of a
right. Which is fine, because it's
Yeah.
the mystery is happening in your mind. The story is unfolding in your mind, like that detective you had on the other day about that gold digger woman.
Mike Vecchione.
That was crazy. That was so intriguing.
I love that guy.
I thought I was watching an episode of like the police mysteries or something.
Thanks, man.
It was awesome. I was hooked.
I think another one you might like is I've had on Dale Graff. He was the head of the CIA Stargate project, the remote viewing project in the Cold War. I've had on that guy.
Oh yeah.
The head guy. And we said
that would be intriguing.
That's the stuff that sometimes I just get so frustrated about. I'm like, who else is interviewing the head of the CIA psychic program? And it's got like 11 views. And I'm like, this is a damned world. Like, I should be just reviewing TikTok and selling cereal.
No.
I know I can't, but
Resist
it's like
that.
But that is like the pull where I'm like, the head of the Soviet Union bioweapons program came on with Dr. Peter McCullough 2 weeks ago and said unequivocally, this was a lab-made virus. It's got like 100 views. And I'm like, I've had on a guy that I've one of 4 men alive who've walked on the moon. He's come on 3 times. Cumulatively, they have about 300 views. And I'm like, what am I doing?
Well, I'm glad that you decided not to just cover pop culture, because I did see that episode of yours where you were a little bit distraught about that, and you were thinking,
I was so angry. Anybody wondering, that's it was around April of this year. So April is the anniversary of when I lost my older brother to suicide 8 years ago. So April always just sucks, but it was that mixed with like just hating. And I put out an episode. It's like, I will exclusively cover pop culture. I had people text me after that, or like, you okay, bro? Like, I couldn't tell if that was a funny I ended up taking a week off. I was so angry.
But listen, I mean, if you were to just go cover pop culture and stuff that doesn't matter, you wouldn't be happy with yourself, because
I'd hang myself.
You love digging into the mysteries of the world, frankly, and that's to be applauded. And that's actually your ticket. And I'm serious. I think that you should repackage your show with a new name, a logo, and you should test some of the names, like using words like mysteries or world or I don't know. You can brainstorm on it and ask friends and ask people online, ask your current audience, like what show name best covers what I do. And then you brand it in some way that's memorable.
Yeah.
And I guarantee you the mental hook of that is going to make an impact in people's minds about who you are and what you do and why it's worth tuning in.
Yeah. It's my like, the reason why I don't put stuff behind a paywall on Patreon is because people like Tim Dillon, who I love Tim Dillon, but he's a comedian. He makes like 220,000 a month on Patreon. I think he's the funniest guy alive. I'm like, that is successful. I'm like, that's very successful. But I'm like, what's more successful than him? It's Rogan, who puts nothing behind a pay. And as someone that grew up with LimeWire and Napster, I'm like, I know that there's no such thing as a paywall. If you really want it, you'll find it. My other logic is his is the biggest. He has on Elon Musk to Bernie Sanders to Dr. Malone. And his is just called Joe Rogan Experience. So there's also, I look at like the highest thing I could ever hope to attain. and it's just his name with another word on it.
Yeah, but don't forget about all the years. I mean, Joe Rogan is a brand now.
Well, no, he was a
because
brand
it's
before
got
he even started. Yeah.
right. I mean, he
Yeah.
had all those years in Hollywood and doing all the
Oh
stuff
yeah,
that he
Fear
did.
Factor, News Radio. That
Yeah,
was all.
Fear
That was
Factor.
before he even started. No, I'm
Exactly.
Yeah, I know that as well. Again, yeah, the thing I'm less concerned with is the name or the logo, and it's more the
Well,
guests, the content, the
and
quality.
let me add this too.
Sure.
I don't want to get in trouble with Joe Rogan's people on this, but Joe Rogan tends to interview people who are more pop culture oriented.
Mm-hmm.
And rarely does he get into the really in-depth type of interviews that actually characterize what you do more frequently.
Thank you.
So, I mean, I know Joe Rogan has Peter McCullough on and folks like that, but his realm really is more pop culture, which naturally has a much larger audience because more
Gotcha.
people are going to be interested in pop culture than in things that actually matter. For example, there was a clip that went viral of Joe Rogan and somebody he had on just in the last day. And I saw it being shared everywhere. And I pulled up that clip and I'm like, are you kidding me? Like, me and Alex Jones talk like this every day for the last 3 years. I mean, there's nothing special in that clip.
Yeah.
Nothing.
Well,
it was just because it was Joe Rogan.
yeah, it's people are like, dude, did you know he had on Dr. McCullough and Dr. Malone, and now the White House is saying, and I'm like, I remember Dr. McCullough texting me and being like, I'm going on Joe Rogan next week.
Yes.
I remember
yes.
Dr. Malone texting me. He's like, I'm going on Rogan tomorrow. Wish me luck. I'm like, they've been on here several times before.
Totally.
Like, Tommy, you should get those guests on. I'm like, I try not to get angry, but I'm like, he's never interviewed a guy that's walked on the moon. He's never interviewed Mike Durant, the Black Hawk Down pilot. He's never interviewed Ken Out. All these people who I got in touch with, so they are accessible. He's never
yes.
Rob Manning, the head of NASA JPL, the guy who puts the rovers on Mars, came on here.
Totally.
What? Like, it is disillusioning sometimes. You're like, oh.
Yeah, but I think your secret to long-term success is going to be being true to who you are.
Yeah. No,
you're a
right.
Curious person about the world. And there is a whole universe of people that share that curiosity with you, and they want to uncover the mysteries of the world. And they want to follow you through these interviews and through asking these questions. And they don't want to hear about pop culture garbage because they know it doesn't matter in the end. You know, it's just about connecting with those. And again, a lot of that, I think, comes down to the packaging, the branding, the naming, because that is your sign over your shop.
Sure.
You know, that where people say, oh, I'm looking for a baker. Yeah. I'm looking for a bakery sign. Oh, there it is, bakery. And then they go in and buy bread. Well, they're looking for mysteries.
You're not wrong. You're not wrong. Yeah. And as everyone on this podcast knows, they inadvertently become my therapist as I just sit here and vent my.
I don't intend to do that. I'm just.
No one ever does.
I'm just brainstorming.
No. You're
a platform.
And I think there's the other thing is like, when I say I get angry that this podcast isn't bigger or it's not making more money, I do understand that there is an inherent limitation if you're not willing to go full pop culture. That's fine. Rogan is at a different. It's not as brain dead as Kardashian. There's still some stupidity. I love him. I started listening to him in 2011, like before anyone who like his podcast was. So like, I'll always have a special spot in my heart for him. But that's not even what I'm like, gunning for. As cool as it would be, when I get angry about this podcast not making money, I mean, like, I want enough to pay for an apartment and like Walmart groceries. It's not like right, I'm not on the Daily Show every night. I'm like, dude, when I say I want it to make money, I mean I want it to pay for a 1-bedroom apartment. My bed is 6 feet that way, and my washer is 6 feet that way. And the bathroom is right there. This is walled in with moving blankets. Like,
that's highly efficient living right there.
It is very efficient living. I will not apologize, but like, that's what I mean when I get angry about it. Because if you wanted to truly, if I wanted it to be bigger, the reality is I would have never had on Dr. Malone or Dr. McCullough. I would have shut up and stayed on YouTube. So like,
see, but I'm glad you had them on. I think that's really a great choice. And I think, again, your ability, let me throw this out there. Something else that I think is important to this. You get great guests on and you do bombshell interviews that don't get enough publicity, right? So let me offer you this. I have a writing staff. I've got 50 plus people, writers, editors, proofreaders, publishing people who do our content. If you will post new interviews on Brighteon that we think are newsworthy because of the guest or the topic, I will assign my team to cover your podcast at no charge to you, just editorially, to cover it and embed it in the story. And then we'll publish that across multiple websites that we publish. And we'll just do that for you, as long as the guest is, interesting and compelling and newsworthy, which you do all the time. So like, that's something that we could start doing right now.
That would be sick as shit.
Super easy to do.
That would be awesome.
Well, let's begin.
So this is episode 653. I just did an episode before this with Dr. Robert Malone, and I think it was one of my best ones. He and I went way out. We started with COVID. Very quickly, we went down JFK to the Federal Reserve, and then we were off to the races.
Really? With Robert Malone?
Wow. Oh yeah, no, yeah. You can pry that guy out of the stencil of doctor. He knows just as much about Smedley Butler as me. He'll go right down the rabbit hole of fiat currency and slavery and transhumanism. Like yeah.
Okay, you send me the link to that one on your channel.
I'll upload it to Brighteon.
I'll push it to my editors and assign a story.
I'll upload it to Brighteon. Well, I know because I gotta let you go. I'll wrap this one up. I'll upload it to Brighteon, and I'll text that to you immediately. Cool.
And this is kind of an open door policy too. Right. Anything that's newsworthy that you post on Brighteon, we'd love to cover it. And that's
sure.
Yeah,
I would love it. I mean, clearly, I just started this podcast with my new crusade against Rumble, and everyone knows, like, dude, you just are getting your footing there. And I'm like, I don't give a shit. If there's not a strong foundation, it means nothing to me. It means nothing to me. So yeah, I'm 100% down to do this.
Well, I would encourage you to continue to post on a Rumble
and I will
shoot an Odyssey and all these other places as well.
I don't mean to imply that I'm not. Of course I am. I trust me. If YouTube still let me upload there, I'd be uploading there too. I'm not arrogant enough to burn my bridges. I'd still love to upload to YouTube. I've tried under alternative names. They find me and ban me. So
that's funny. Yeah. Well, did you know that the day I decided to build Brighteon was the day that YouTube permanently banned me?
Oh, really?
Yes.
Well, there's your divine intervention.
That was 2014.
Wow. Okay. So you're an OG. I'm bitching about being banned in 2021.
Yeah, Lord. I was banned before Alex Jones was banned. I was banned before anybody knew there was banning happening.
You were banned a year before Trump announced his candidacy.
Yeah. I was banned over Big Pharma. I was criticizing the drug companies and calling them out for their depopulation and mass murder of humanity before Trump, before any of that stuff.
So I'm sitting here complaining, and you're like patting me on the head. You're like, I understand, Tommy. Banning's bad. I didn't know that.
Oh man,
that's hardcore.
I was banned from all the platforms just over Big Pharma. I used to do a cartoon series called Counterthink. I hired an artist, and I devised the like political cartoons. You can still see them out there if you just look for Counterthink cartoons. And I was doing that in 2006, 2007. And all those cartoons were so politically incorrect. It was like the cancer industry lining people up to kill them for profit and all kinds of stuff. It was totally uncensored stuff. And at that time, it was getting shared everywhere.
Yeah.
Now it'd be completely cut off. But I was kind of an early, I started doing what I was doing before the censorship kicked in, which allowed us to get a lot more eyeballs before everything, before the big crackdown. Yeah,
I know I'm in good company. You go back and watch like Bill Hicks in like 93 screaming about censorship, and like I look, and he's been dead for almost 30 years, and I look back at him and I'm like, total legend. And like a legend doesn't bend the knee and goes, "Oh, shut up." No, as Bill Hicks says, I wore all black and started screaming at the crowds. Like it's just, I pulled the veil back from their poor eyes. And I look back at that and I'm like, short-term money or just be a fucking legend. And I'm like, dude, just be you. Like that is
100%.
That is immortality.
Be you. look, nobody remembers someone who sells out and just joins the pop culture brigade, because there's a million people like that. And who gives a crap? Oh, they're talking about their new Lamborghini on their podcast. So shallow, so pointless, doesn't even matter in the world. Dude, you are uncovering secrets, mysteries of the way the world works. You're helping people connect with a new understanding of the world that they never thought about. You're actually reshaping people's minds with some of your interviews. That matters, man. That is not just, oh, look at all these rings and jewelry and riches and cars and bitches
Today
and all
I'm
this other
covering
stuff.
the new iPhone.
Forget that.
Today
Yeah.
I'm gonna cover TikTok dances.
No,
So who cares, man?
Dale Graff, come on here and tell me about how the CIA was using remote viewing to find ICBM silos in Savoylinsk, Russia. Like, I don't care what happens. And then
That is fascinating.
yeah,
I interviewed a guy who did all the initial coverage of Plum Island out of New York, where they did the bioweapons research for, well, that became Lyme's disease and other things, other bioweapons. And that dude, he was fascinating because he was I think he's like a lifelong Democrat, very much kind of left wing on his politics, but totally exposed Plum Island bioweapons.
Yeah. Oh yeah. No,
It's
it's
great.
the in search for the truth, you do find strange bedfellows. Dr. McCullough has been on here. Dr. McCullough describes himself as like a strong liberal. I've had on Dr. Aditi Bhargava, the head of mRNA research at UCSF, who campaigned for Joe Biden.
Yeah.
And she's come on here and talked about how disgusted she was that she would make people feel lesser than because they're unvaccinated.
Right.
You find an odd thing, and it's when people start finding the truth, and it's not that they're becoming conservative. It's more so that both the liberal and the conservative are finding a higher truth in pursuing.
Yeah. Well, one of my
reality.
best friends right now is Mickey Willis, and he was such a Democrat. He actually toured with Bernie Sanders.
It's about as hard as you get. Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, he was on the Bernie Sanders bus, like literally.
Yeah.
And now he made the Pandemic film with Judy Mikovits, and he's an awesome guy.
Yeah.
And he's making a lot of other films, by the way, but examples like that. And that's why, see, you have a real talent that you can also connect with people no matter what their background, no matter what their politics. It doesn't matter. You're not going to reject somebody just because they are fill in the blank, you know, whatever that is, a Democrat or gay or whatever.
I don't give a
It doesn't
shit.
matter. Yeah.
As long as you're not hurting anyone physically. Are you a rapist? Are you a murderer? Are you a pedophile? I can't see eye to eye with you. Anything else?
Right.
I had on a guy from the Israeli Special Forces, Sayeret, who sat on here and then told me how bad he feels for Hezbollah. And I was like, what the fuck? You're a Special Forces Jew?
Really?
And he goes, yeah, because you see these guys and they don't even have basic dental care. They've never seen a television, and they make a penny a day, and someone offers them $1,000 to fire a rocket. What else would you do? And he's like, now don't get me wrong.
Wow.
I have to put them in the ground because it's them or me. Because that doesn't mean that you don't have compassion. And I'm sitting here like,
Yeah.
what the fuck?
Yeah. That's
so,
a tough job.
That was 20 episodes in. I have this guy in a balaclava showing me it's like Israeli passport, and I'm like, yeah, it works for the Mossad Kidon, that assassination unit. And yeah, he's telling me, he's like, no, he's like, don't get me wrong. He's like, I'll kill them because it's them or it's me. But he was like, that doesn't mean that you don't pray for them after. And I was like, what the fuck? So like, yeah, I mean, this is another thing about the podcast that has forced me to open my heart in addition to opening my mind is.
And that is what your audience experiences as you're sharing these stories with them too. So they're going through their own personal transformation or uplifting or awakening. Yeah. And that's that shared experience that's why this is worthwhile.
Yeah.
You know, that's why, that's why it matters. And that's why the pop culture crap is a waste of time, waste of attention.
Hey, I gotta let you go. I've kept you 4 minutes longer than I.
No, it's okay. We're good, but I do have to run.
Absolutely.
I'm late.
Absolutely. Hey, get out of here. I'll text you the episode when it's up. I'll text the Dr. Mullen episode to you. We'll do this again sometime. I'll put all your stuff in the description. And sorry for keeping you over. Thank you so much for coming on here, man.
Hey, look, cool. Tommy, I'm honored to spend this time with you, and thank you for letting me brainstorm with you on this too. And let's of course talk offline as well, and start sending me your episodes. We'll start doing editorial coverage for you. And I'd love to help you succeed on Brighteon and other platforms as well.
Thank you so much, man. You're a godsend. It's an honor to have you on here. And
thrilled to be here, man. Thrilled to be here.
By the way, I like your shirt. That's a sick shirt.
Yeah, this is one of 3 shirts I use on video. I only have 3.
Hey, this is one of
So
this is
it's
one
like-
of 5. I have the same long sleeve from the same company, 5 different colors. I just cycle them through.
There you go.
My washing
Yeah.
machine's broken, so I'm on the last one. So
Hey,
all right,
I think I'm going to launder this like once every 2 months or something because I only use it on the shows.
that's all you
But
need.
whatever.
Back up.
Yeah.
Mr. Adams, thank you so much, brother. I'll text you this episode. Thank you for your time. Thank you for your support.
Thank
You're
you,
a real
Tommy.
one. Guys, go check them out. Go subscribe. Go log in. Go make an account for Brighteon. Fuck censorship. Be true to yourself.